At 40, you have probably 20 years to 25 years for planning. It's quite a long time. So within 5 years, you can do a turnaround of the things you possibly did not do. For example, you can deal with things called commodities. That is, you can buy commodities that have long-term value. You can also deal with things like equity or shares. That is, you buy stakes from private institutions, but it's not for tomorrow or 1 year or 2 years. It is for a long time. You can also deal with things like properties. At this stage, you focus on dealing with only the long term. The last phase is for what we call consolidation or liquidation, or what we call the accumulation. Whatever properties you bought and they are not developed, kindly consider converting them into cash. Because by the time you are retiring, I can tell you, at 60, what you don't need, or what you need rather, is cash flow. You need ready cash.
Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you'll be watching this video. Welcome back to the show. This is Tamara's family and we are back like we never left. So in today's video, as usual, we are talking about marriage and the relationship, and also we bring you inspirational stories. So if you are looking for someone who can get as much information about either of those, inspiration or marriage or relationship, this is the place to be. So in today's video, we have a guest and we are going to talk about a very sensitive subject that most people don't want to talk about, and that is money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. I want you to introduce yourself and then we get into the meat of the presentation.
Thank you, Martin.
Yes.
I'm delighted.
Yes.
First of all, to be in this platform.
Yes.
To share what is very important.
Yes.
To everyone. So because whether you are educated or not, one thing we all interact with is a subject called money. Yes, whether you are a lecturer, whether you are a doctor, whether you are a dropout, the single most discussed subject every day is called money. Yes, so first thing, it's important you understand there is that correlation between planning and the smooth running of the family. Yeah, so planning, basically what we say is that it's that process of managing whatever small you get. Could be peanuts, could be a lot of money, so that you can be able to achieve major goals in life. Yes, and we call it personal financial planning. Yes.
So let's begin here. I believe that so many marriages have issues, majorly zinakuwa zimeanzia pale kwa pesa. Either you are lacking or maybe plenty, because either extremes kunaweza kuwa na shida. When you don't have, you have a lot of issues because probably the man is not able to take care of the family, and probably when the man has like a lot of it and probably is not able to manage it well, there comes the issue of insecurities.
Yeah.
So what are the risks of not planning?
Let us begin here. One thing, because an issue of money is quite sensitive, and we never discuss it in both family setup, in churches, in schools, because our conventional system of education is quite corrupted. So we are never allowed to discuss that. We are only shown how to, you go get your education, leave school, go get employed, and that's it. So it's important because that being it is pain to a lot of families. It is important you understand this, that just like you would be ailing, you would be having a health problem, you would go seek a medical practitioner's advice. It is also important to have someone who will be guiding you on matters finances, and that is what we lack. We fail to seek advice. You get as an individual, so you get majority of families are suffering because of ignorance. and we seek not knowledge from the experts. Yes.
So now the opposite question is, why is it important to plan?
So planning is good because there are those eventualities that come in life. Because basically what we say is that life can be very long, and being long is another risk. Having a long life, it's also a risk. That risk requires planning. So let us begin here. So from age 0 up to age 20, that is what we do. And from age 20 up to 40, there is another event that we take care of. Then from age 60 up to 80, 90, 100, it's another phase that is quite tricky and requires prior planning. You get?
That is 60, that is after retirement.
After now retirement. Because remember, as I started by saying, it is also risky to live longer. Assuming you live for 100 years. And most likely your children are where? At 100 years. So number one, you require a lot of finances to sustain that long life. So from age 0 to around age 20, there we can all agree that you are a parasite. You 100% consume from your parent or guardian. There's nothing much you do. You go to school, you eat, you joke around, and that's it. Then you finish off schooling. The life now changes. Now, that is when the real education start coming in. Now, once you are done with education. So planning is important because after you are done with schooling, there are a lot of other things that comes after. For instance, the first thing you think is now starting up a family. Similarly, after getting that family, there are other components of life, like building a house for them, providing good education for those who comes after, and also planning for what we call your retirement. Yes.
There's something that you have mentioned. You have talked about the age of 60 going up.
Yes.
You have also talked about the age of 0 to 25.
Yes.
And also between 25 and 60, because I believe most of us don't understand this until you are taught.
Yeah.
Between the age of 25 and 60 is now where you need to do everything.
Exactly.
This is now where you need financial planning.
Yeah.
So probably what would you advise someone who is now at the age of 25 and wants to get into other commitments? There's family, there's a family investment,
And also
like everything happens between the age of 25 and 60.
Yeah.
So how would you advise that person financially?
Yeah. So first thing first, at that particular age, number one, it is very important you look for something you can be doing to add value to your life. So if you are lucky to have a job immediately you hit 25, good for you. But it is very, very important, if you don't have a family, you can think of being very aggressive on investments, but investments comes after savings. So the first thing is start having multiple ways or multiple vehicles of savings, because assuming you want to get a loan from a bank or from a SACCO, because majority of us uses SACCOs. What is the first thing they look at? How much you have as you are saving. So they give you everything based on what you have been saving. So that's the first thing. Try as much as possible to save something to prepare for the drought or the dry days. So once you get your family, it is now the best time to think about building a good foundation for this family. You get? Yes. And the way you do, nowadays we are living at different times. Remember, during our grandfather's days, one person could own maybe 100 acres. Today, do we have the same?
No.
No, we don't. So you are employed, you get into that family, and you get maybe your first kid. So you need to think about this kid so much. First of all, apart from giving him education, because there is a time will come and you will be gone. What will you leave this guy? It is important. It's an important question to answer. Yes. So apart from education, now it is also important to understand this, that you do not educate your child as a way of investing for yourself in future. Yes, you see in Africa, there is a narrative that goes around, something called black tax. That is, you educate your child, but you want that child to take care of your bills once you retire. You retire. So it is important, as you educate this child, be thinking of having investments or multiple streams of income that can be sustaining your lifestyle. Now you are still working, and after you are done working, you get. Yes, and then it is also important to plan for what you call after work or retirement, because I can surely tell you, Martin, the most expensive phase for each one of us is that life once you are done working. Yes, it is quite expensive, because assuming you just use or consume 300 shillings per day, what does it mean? For a whole year, you are most likely spending how much? That is 300 shillings times 365 days, because your stomach doesn't have a holiday.
Yes.
You get.
Yes.
So if, for example, you hit 60, and then God willing, you hit, by the time you are dying, you are 90. If that is 30 years down the line, so you can do 300 shillings multiplied by 365 days times 30 years.
100,000 every year.
Yes. So you most likely need not less than 5 million food only. So it is quite an important thing to plan for, because one thing is that between this age you are not working. So what are you relying on? You could be relying on your children, which is quite unfortunate. When you are educating these kids, you are saying, I am educating you to sustain yourself, or for them to help themselves. But for you see, once you retire and you are relying on those children, do you believe it is possible?
It's not sustainable.
It is not sustainable.
They also have responsibilities.
Exactly.
Bills.
Yes. So it is very, very important to plan for yourself after life, after retirement. So those three things are quite basic. Number one, make sure that if you have a family, lay a good foundation for that family, and you do it through one, educating that child. Take him to a better school than the one you are taking, because a responsible parent aspires to give their children better life than the one they were brought up in. So that is one goal. You educate, take them to good school. Number two, think about investing. Think about having different ways of investing. Do not rely on your payslip. Your payslip is quite susceptible, and I can tell you this. It requires your presence at work for you to get that pay at the end of the month.
Yes.
So if you are sick for 2 months, what would your employer do? Yes? He will tell you go home.
Yes, get rid of you.
Yes, he will get rid of you. But if you have a child back at home, yes, does he understand that you've been fired?
No.
The bills are still there waiting for you. The food, the hot, you get. So it is important you have, or you create different streams of income that can take care of you and the family in the event, number one, you are sick. In the event you are disabled, or in the event, God forbid, you become terminally ill. It is common nowadays. People with no history of these critical illnesses, developing them later in life. You get? So it is very, very important you do that. Create 2-3 ways of earning, such that even if you sleep, the systems are still running. You get? And finally, you plan for your retirement. I can tell you, if you get annual leave, say, whatever you do, that is what you'll be doing once you retire. I can tell you that. If you spend majority of your time during the leave, the annual leave, watching TV, most likely that is what you'll be doing after you retire. If you spend your time farming, most likely once you are done with the formal employment, that is what you'll be doing. Yeah.
There's something that you said, you don't find this information in our conventional
schooling system. Yes.
Someone is in their 40s, maybe late 40s, and this information is new to them. Is there a time that you would maybe consider it's too late to think about financial planning?
I can tell you, Martin, the best time is that time you get the information. So there's no being late here. Because at 40, you have probably 20 years to 25 years for planning. It's quite a long time. So within 5 years, you can do a turnaround of the things you possibly did not do. Yes. And this what we call a ABC way of planning now and after you are done for retirement. If you are at 40, you can do this. You have at least 20 years towards your retirement. Less 2 years, those 2 years, set them aside. There's nothing much you do there. What you do as at that time, you do what you call consolidation. But again, you have 18 years left. So when doing your mathematics, ama hesabu yako ya ile miaka umebakisha, you most likely have 18 years. So you can divide that period into 3 stages. What does it mean? That you have exactly 6 years for a phase called A. You have another phase from the 6th up to 12th year called B. And you have the last phase from the 12th year up to the 18th year called C. The A, if you want, because instead of mixing all these things, you may not be able to handle all of them simultaneously. So what you do, you take the phase A, 6 years. You only focus on things that have long-term value. You get? That is when you are between 40 and 46. What you focus on at that particular stage, you focus only on the long terms. Long term means the investments you do are those ones that gives you has long-term effect. For example, you can deal with things called commodities. That is, you can buy commodities that have long-term value. You can also deal with things like equity or shares. That is, you buy stakes from private institution, but it's not for tomorrow or 1 year or 2 years. It is for a long time. You can also deal with things like properties. At this stage, you focus on dealing with only the long term.
There's someone who is watching. He is in his 40s, maybe now late 40s. Asema, me, I'm already late. Do I need to plan? Even if I try to plan, how do I start? Where can I begin?
So a very wise question, Martin. First thing, it is the first remedy for anything is to accept that you're in a situation that you can control. You get? So you don't have control over what has possibly passed or happened. What you have control over is the time remaining. So there are different ways of helping this person who is probably 40 years. One thing is this another nini we call process, or another way of managing what we call after work. At 40-45, there are diverse ways you can deal with to help you effectively plan for retirement. So first thing is something called ABC process or program, whereby you divide the remaining period into 3 phases. The first phase could be from 40 maybe up to 46.
Just someone who is probably, let's work with 48.
48, eh?
Yes.
48, he can divide his time, or she can divide his time into 2.
And it's 12.
Yes, 12. First phase, 6 years. The second phase, 6 years. So the first phase is for what we call investments that has long-term effect. And here you deal with things like properties. You can deal with equity. You can also deal with commodities. You could be having, for example, you can buy gold. You can buy silver. You can or metals, the expensive metals. These ones has long-term effect. At the same time, you have the last phase. The last phase is for what we call consolidation or liquidation, or what we call deaccumulation. Whatever properties you bought and they are not developed, kindly consider converting them into cash. Because by the time you are retiring, I can tell you, at 60, what you don't need, or what you need rather, is cash flow. You need ready cash. You get? So you bought expensive, these precious metals, you had equity, you had undeveloped properties, all of them, it is possible to convert them into cash. And once you get the cash, you can now invest in things we call mutual funds or money market fund, whereby you earn interest on interest. You get? Yes, so there's a lot of things, but that requires a professional advice and a one-on-one, because people are different. Yes.
There's someone who is hearing this for the first time, because I believe growing up, especially mtu mwenye analitaya, I have seen so many people make this mistake.
Yeah.
You want to maybe start a business that you don't have an experience in. Wanataka kusema especially maybe wacha tuseme walimu. Mwalimu amefika in the 60s,
yeah,
anafungua hardware.
Yeah.
These are very nasema like a new venture. Hana experience at all.
Yeah.
Aya, huu ni maybe amefungua like tuseme kama
a pharmacy.
A pharmacy.
Yes.
Yeye ile kitu anatafuta mahali anaweza tengeneza do, lakini haangalie the aspect of you need to have some experience in it. So which are the options probably zenye maybe you can advise tukiuzia tu tunauzia because you cannot like have this conversation into details.
Yes.
Which options do we have so that I don't lose money kwa hii aggravate nisipoteze pesa kwa hii pharmacy and I don't have an idea how it goes?
Yeah. So one thing, it is always important to do these things early if it is possible. If you are not, if you did not do these things while you are still working, it is not wise. It's not a wise thing to do. I can tell you this. Assuming you are a teacher and you put up a pharmacy, what we understand is that any business requires what we call incubation period. Could be 1 year, could be 2 years before you start breaking even. So assuming you put all your pension, maybe 2 or 3 million into this business venture, and we understand that they are what we call business dynamics. You are 2-3 million by the time you are breaking even. Ni kazi ya kutoa stock, kulipa rent, kutoa stock, kulipa salaries.
Yes.
And by the time you coming to understand this handwriting ya hawa majamaa, you've probably lost everything. So it is always advisable to as a retiree, venture only on those investments that are low risk, low return. But you can't start venturing into things that you have no experience on. But assuming we are still taking a case of a teacher, what can he probably do? You have the experience of teaching. You can, with your 1 million or 500,000, you can open a small, maybe kindergarten. With that, you don't require to be there. You just need to employ these people who are young and are unemployed and give them work. By so doing, you've created a system that is generating money without you really going into that business. Because even the government very well understood that at 60, you've probably lost 80% of your energy. So, do you want now to continue working after retirement? It's not a good thing. However, there are a lot of things you can do once you retire, and what you need is an expert or a professional who can be able to guide you on what is best for a retiree. Yes.
So I don't want you to like preempt everything, because I want you back here.
Yes.
Because we'll be having these sessions. But there's something that you mentioned. You mentioned the bonds, the treasury bills,
the money market fund, mutual fund. Yeah.
Probably unaweza kuzia tu kidogo tu tukipitaga.
Yeah. So what I mean by mutual fund or money market fund is an investment that possibly you have 1 million, and that 1 million is lying idle, earning you nothing. So instead of you putting that money into that, you can buy some units of a money market fund. It will be giving you interest per day. At the same time, you can give an insurance company or those institutions that deals with money market fund to be putting at the end of every month interest to your account. Because what we said at the beginning, after retirement, what you need is cash, nothing else. You don't need those plots, undeveloped especially. But if you had built properties, that is rentals, it is good for you, you get. But for money market fund, those mutual funds, they are basically low risk, low return, whereby you can probably get 8 to 10% per annum on interest, and your interest is also giving you something.
Yes. All right. So guys, you have heard it. Today we just decided to talk generally, because we want to do this exclusively for someone who is interested, because there's so much to discuss when it comes to money and investment, and I believe you would love to have this conversation going on, and you'd love to have this engagement with professional like Moi. He's a financial advisor, and for that reason our membership is open. We are not going to have this conversation on the main platform. We want to do it exclusively for members. If you'd love to have this training we'll be having every month, we'll be engaging with professionals in different levels. We have financial advisor, we have probably someone who is professional in health. We'll be bringing them here. That's the plan that we have. And because we want to make sure that people, for you to appreciate value, you first of all need to become a member, and because this information will be accessible to only members. All right. So if you have loved this video, probably before you even finish the video, do you train people, and maybe at which level? I mean, groups, organizations, and stuff. Maybe you can.
Yeah. So this is what we do. You could be requiring a professional advice in matters investments, in matters last expense or last respect plans, in matters welfare for you. For example, you being a member of a chama that most likely has 10 or 20 members.
Yes.
And you're looking for an investment opportunity or an investment avenue. We can help you have the best plan that will give you value for whatever amount you put. At the same time, you could be an individual and you most likely want to know, how do I educate my kid? How do I invest? Which are the available vehicles for me to invest in? So we can always engage at a personal level, which with your platform we can be able to organize.
All right. And because we want to address specific needs, if you have something that really you would want to understand when it comes to either investment or making choices, basically investment, you can write in the comment section so that the next time we're having this discussion, we'll be able to address the needs that you have. Because bottom line, we want to make sure that we are helping you make the right decisions financially. So it's always a pleasure having you. And, thank you very much for creating time to come.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll be able to have you next time.
All right.
Yes, because tumesema hivyo tu hapa ndio sikatai.
I
I know it's not very easy to get financial advisors, and they are very busy people. Thank you for spending your time with us.
I appreciate.
So until we see you in the next video, as a God bless you and become a member first. Yes, bye bye. See you then.